Grand Rising, Facebook, YouTube, or whatever platform you're watching this. So you may know, or maybe you don't know, there is $100,000 signature challenge that I started. What is this challenge for again? Housekeeping. Okay. Now, it is my belief that 6 weeks is not enough for maternity leave. It is my belief that if you had surgery, especially if it's major surgery, you need at least 6 weeks of free housekeeping. Or 6 weeks of housekeeping that should be covered via your medical insurance. It is my belief that any child that had housekeeping, that any child that had any surgery, the parent should receive at least 6 weeks of free housekeeping. If you just had a baby, you should receive 6 weeks of free housekeeping. If you're elderly and limited mobility, you should receive housekeeping services to the point where you're either you can do it on your own, or you're no longer living on your own, okay? I expressed how during the birth of each child, after the birth of each child, I struggled. It was a struggle. It was a huge struggle for me to maintain my home. It was a huge struggle for me just to even shower. I didn't realize it then, but I do believe I was suffering from postpartum depression. Okay? I am not a medical professional. I cannot diagnose myself or others. But based on those symptoms, like if you would have said, Candida, did you brush your teeth today? I couldn't tell you. That's how bad it was. I did get lucky with my older two. They were able to make like basic things like sandwiches and cereal, that made it much easier, because otherwise I wouldn't have known whether or not the children ate. Yeah, that bad. And I know there's other people out there who suffer from postpartum depression. Not only is there postpartum depression, it's postpartum psychosis. Yeah. So this is what the 100,000 signature challenge is about. Now, there are commercials out there, and I wanted to ask you guys, and of course I'm gonna do some research and thinking, what can I do? What can I do when we celebrate? How can we celebrate reaching the goal of 100,000 signatures? How can we celebrate? I also would love it if I can have over 100,000 followers, how can we celebrate that? How can we celebrate reaching the milestone where I can go live on YouTube? And other platforms. Because now I'm live on Facebook. I can go live on Facebook, but how can we celebrate that? Because I want to reach as many people as possible. Because this is a big mission. Yeah. How can we do that? Can we get 100,000 signatures for people with limited mobility? You know, there was, I've said this before, because to me, I don't know how I'll be able to get around if I was born with having no eyesight. Whew. Excuse me. There are people out there born vision impaired. And if those people do not receive free housekeeping, I think they should. Okay? There's people born with limited mobility. Okay? It's for those people as well. You know, and there's also back to the point where children can receive free housekeeping, or the parent of the child, if they had any surgery. You know, my daughter, talking about the 100,000 signature challenge, she was like, well, Mom, I could have gotten that. I should have gotten free housekeeping services. And I don't know why I didn't think of that. Because at the time, I was the housekeeper after she had her multiple surgeries. I was the housekeeper. I was the chef. I was the chauffeur. I did it all. Living in Buffalo, New York, where it snows. You know, one year it snowed so bad, there was 7 feet of snow. Now, let's try to get a wheelchair through that. Yeah, it was that bad. So who's out there in similar situations? And how can we help them? If we clean the house, that's just one task lifted off of them. Can we reach 100,000 signatures, 100,000 followers, 100,000 comments, and 100,000 book sales, 100,000 sales across the board? Can we do that? Share, like, and comment. Tag a friend. Tag 3 friends. Also, before I leave you, I have a magazine that I would love if everybody can participate. But that's unrealistic. So why not have 716 716 articles. There's one section specifically for businesses, any business, okay? And then there's one section specifically for black businesses. Any black business in the 716 area code. There are 11 sections total, and they're all various things that I particularly love. Share, like, comment, tag 3 people. Thank you.